Hi, welcome everyone. In this video, we will learn UCP 600 Article 20, that is Bill of Lading. We will learn this by point, and we will begin with the first point. A. A bill of lading, however named, must appear to. Let's say, what is the meaning of however named? Bill of lading. Let's say credit has asked for 3 original marine bill of lading, and the bill of lading presented by the beneficiary is named as ocean bill of lading or port to port bill of lading. So this is allowed. This is the meaning of however named. If asked for marine bill of lading, then presented bill of lading may be named as ocean bill of lading or port to port bill of lading or anything. Now, the most important point of this article, signing capacity and the name of entity who is signing the bill of lading. You will learn one by one all these points. So, first bill, we have taken mini dummy bill of lading just to get a better explanation. The first one is when the presented bill of lading is signed by carrier. As we have learned over here, this must indicate name of the carrier. Bill of lading must indicate the name of carrier. Later on, we will check the signing capacity. First, the name of carrier must be mentioned. Here, in this case, carrier is indicated. First, Stars Line Shipping Company, and below, Fast Star Line Shipping Company has signed as carrier. Let's say if bill of ladings, here carrier is not mentioned and the bill of lading is printed on the letterhead or stationery of the Fast Star Line Shipping Company. Suppose there is a big logo of Fast Star Line Shipping Company is there, but it is not indicated as carrier. Then we cannot assume that it is printed on the stationery of Fast Star Line Shipping Company. So the carrier will also be the Fast Star Line Shipping Company. Carrier, until unless the carrier name is not mentioned, we will not assume that any specific name is the carrier's name. Coming to the next example, when the bill of lading is signed by the agent of carrier, thus carrier must be indicated. Yes, it is indicated, and agent should be named. Skyline Shipping Company as agent. Yes, agent is also named, and Skyline Shipping Company signed as agent of the carrier. Signing capacity is also there. In above example, we saw that the carrier name is mentioned on the top. It can also be mentioned at the bottom as here. About Skyline Shipping Company has signed as agent. It is the agent of the carrier Fast Star Line Shipping Company. Instead of on the top of bill of lading, the carrier name is mentioned in the last point of bill of lading. Now, when bill of lading is signed by the master, when bill of lading signed by the master will not to be named. So we will see carrier name. Yes, carrier name is indicated. Now, who has signed the bill of lading? Yeah, master has signed the bill of lading. Where it is the decision of ICC that the master need not to be named. Next, when the bill of lading is signed by the agent of the master. In this case, carrier must be indicated. Yes, it is indicated. Agent should named. Agent is named. ABC shipping is agent of master, and signing capacity, that is ABC shipping has signed as agent of the master. These from this bill of lading we show that what we have to check when carrier has signed, when the agent of the carrier has signed the bill of lading, or when the master has signed the bill of lading, or when the agent of the master has signed the bill of lading. Now coming to the next point. Contain terms and condition of the carriage or make reference to another source containing the terms and condition of carriage. Short form or blank back bill of lading. Contents of term and condition of the carriage will not be examined. Either bill of lading term and condition should be mentioned, or any reference of another source is given for checking the term and condition of the carriage. But as a scrutinizer, we will not check the contents of term and condition of the carriage. The term and condition is there, that is enough. We will not go into the term and condition points, that what is written or what is not written. The contents is not our concern. Now, contain no indication that it is subject to chartered party. Freight payable as per chartered party, or freight payable as per chartered party. If these are indicated in a bill of lading, that will mean that this bill of lading is a chartered bill of lading. So these should not be mentioned in the bill of lading. For the purpose of this article, transshipment means unloading from one vessel and reloading to another vessel during the carriage from the port of loading to the port of discharge stated in the credit. Let's say port of loading is X and the port of discharge is Z. In between the journey, at the Y port, goods were loaded at vessel A. At port Y, goods were unloaded from vessel A and loaded into vessel B. This will be called as transshipment. A bill of lading may indicate that the goods will or may be transshipped provided the entire carriage is covered by one and the same bill of lading. Let's say credit allows for transshipment. Goods were loaded at export. Transshipment occurs at port Y. So for this complete journey, beneficiary must present single BL. Let's say beneficiary presented BL first bill of lading for the journey from port X to port Y. Now goods unloaded from the vessel and now journey begins from port Y to port Z. For this party beneficiary presented second BL. This is not permitted. If transshipment to be occurred, then this should be covered by single bill of lading. A bill of lading indicating that transshipment will or may take place is acceptable even if the credit prohibits transshipment if the goods have been shipped in a container, trailer, or last barge, as evidenced by the bill of lading. Let's say credit in credit transshipment is not allowed. Transshipment is not allowed. But if the goods have been shipped in container, either in container or last barge, then if it is mentioned that transshipment will or may take place, this clause is acceptable. Reason is that the goods themselves are not unpacked and reloaded at the transshipment point. They remain securely sealed within the unitized cargo form, that is container, trailer or fuel barge. Now coming to the next point. We will learn this para into three parts. First from this to this, second from there, later on from there. First, indicate the goods have been shipped on board a named vessel at the port of loading stated in the credit by pre-printing wording or an onboard notation indicating the date on which the goods have been shipped on board. In this bill of lading, we can see that shipped on board notation is pre-printed. Now, the second part where onboard notation indicating the date on which the goods have been shipped on board. Here, onboard notation on the date on which the goods has been shipped. This we have completed. Now we will learn this. The date of issuance of the bill of lading will be deemed to be the date of shipment unless the bill of lading contains an onboard notation indicating the date of shipment, in which case the date stated in the onboard notation will be deemed to be the date of shipment. For this also we have taken two examples. Next, here we can see in this article, in this bill of lading, only the place and date of issue is mentioned, but no other shipped onboard date is mentioned. So in this case, the date of issue will be considered as date of shipment. Now, here in this example. In this bill of lading, date and place of issue is also mentioned and shipped on board date is also mentioned. Here, the date of issue is January 6 and shipped on board date is January 2nd. So, in this case, January 2, that is shipped on board notation date will be considered as date of shipment. No, this point. If the bill of lading contains the indication intended vessel or similar qualification in relation to the name of vessel and onboard notation indicating the date of shipment and the name of actual vessel is required. Here we can see vessel name is intended. In this case, shipped on board notation mentioning shipped on board date and vessel name should be mentioned. Then it is intended vessel and onboard notation indicating the date of shipment and the name of actual vessel is required. Actual name of actual vessel is mentioned and date of shipment is also mentioned. Indicate shipment from the port of loading to the port of discharge stated in the credit. Let's say in credit, port of loading is mentioned as Haldia and port of discharge is mentioned as Jebel Ali. Then in bill of lading also, port of loading must be mentioned as Haldia and port of discharge must be mentioned as Jebel Ali. If the bill of lading does not indicate the port of loading stated in the credit as the port of loading, or if it contains the indication intended or similar qualification in relation to the port of loading and onboard notation indicating the port of loading as stated in the credit, the date of shipment and the name of vessel is required. This provision applies even when loading on board or shipment on a named vessel is indicated by pre-printing wording on the bill of lading. So let's consider this picture is a little bit blurred due to low picture quality. Let's say credit asks for port of loading Chicago. In bill of lading, port of loading is mentioned as Chicago, United States, but intended word is added after port of loading. In this case, an onboard notation mentioning port of loading as per credit, that is port of loading Chicago, shipment date and vessel name. These three must be mentioned. Similarly, this is that if it contains indication intended, or let's say instead of place of loading, Chicago is mentioned in the column place of receipt. In this case also, port of loading must mentioned as Chicago and notation must be there mentioning port of loading as Chicago, shipment date and vessel name. These three must be mentioned. Instead of the fact that the date of shipment vessel name is pre-printed. This provision applies even when loading on board or shipment on a named vessel is indicated by pre-printing wording on the bill of lading. It is pre-printed, but still we will require a onboard notation mentioning vessel name. Let's learn this. Suppose the journey started from port X to port Z on vessel A. In transit, vessel A breaks down. Vessel A breaks down. Then carrier cannot leave the goods in between the sea. In this case, carrier will not have any other option except transshipment. So at this point, goods will be unloaded from vessel A to vessel B, so that the goods can be unloaded at port A. This is the main reason why it is mentioned. If the vessel breaks down, the carrier cannot complete the voyage as originally planned. In the absence of contractual clause, the carrier reserves the right to ship. Unloading and moving the cargo to another ship would be a deviation or a breach of contract. Let's say if carrier doesn't mention this point, reserves the right to transit, then what will happen? That if carrier will unload the goods from vessel A to vessel B, then it will be the breach of contract. So to avoid this, carrier mentioned this point. Carrier reserves the right to transit. So the scrutinizer must disregard this clause. Oh, that was all for this article. I hope I am able to make you understand with all the real life example. Thank you for watching.